So this is the first time for a number of things. One is using a selfie stick. It feels kind of weird, but I finally did it. I finally bought a piece of property in Florida, and I'm down here now, and I just thought that I would cover some of the progress that I've made in the last, well, almost 2 weeks now. It's taken a while to just kind of get acclimated, get the house set up, a little bit organized, get myself organized, get my tools out, and start to do some work. I did finally get my Starlink set up, and I had it temporarily set up just out on the lawn, which worked great, but of course it needs a more permanent fixture for it. So I'm going to show you that, what I've done to install that. So let me switch this around here. So this is the Starlink permanent install. Back up a little bit. It's two 4x4s. The bottom one is 6 foot long, but it's sunk into the ground about 2 3/4 feet. And I put some bricks around the very bottom just to stabilize the position of the bottom. And then I also put some bricks around it, maybe about 3 inches below the surface of the ground to stabilize that as well. And it does seem pretty sturdy. And then the top post was a 6 foot 4x4 as well, but I cut it down to 5 feet because it was getting just a little too tall. In fact, I probably should have cut it down another foot, but I think it's okay the way it is. And then those things in the middle, they basically just join the two together. The nice thing about it is that it can be disassembled. If we're going to have a storm, I can simply unbolt 2 of those center section and then remove the top and put it underneath the pole barn there and secure it for a storm, so I don't have to worry about it just completely being destroyed. And the top section here, I don't know if I can zoom in or not. Here, let me try this. Yeah. It's got its own what they call kickstand, but on the top I made the green platform slanted so that it actually sheds rain off of it, and it's the kickstand is just held down to the platform with 2 zip ties through the plywood. And then on the bottom you can see those 2 things sticking out. Those are just 2 dowels that I glued on there, and the bottom of the Starlink transceiver sits on those so water doesn't accumulate behind the back side of it, and it just runs out and off of those two dowels. So it's just a means of shedding water. And then I put a rope from the pole all the way to another pole in the pole barn, and then zip tied the actual cable to it so it's not holding its own weight. So the rope is holding its own weight, and then it just kind of goes up, gets zip tied to these trusses in the pole barn. It goes over and then down into the house there. And then I just put up a little shelf for the router and the power supply. And it works great. So far I've had no problems with it. It's extremely fast, and it's almost like there's no delay at all. So very happy with it. And now I can move on to some other projects that I'm going to be dealing with. So let me walk you down to the next project that I'll be working on. I've been sort of through a physical transition myself from working at a desk to doing manual labor. It's yeah, it's not a fun transition, but I'm feeling pretty good. I think after almost 2 weeks, I'm getting acclimated to it. But what I have done is there is a Quonset hut here on the property that I'm going to be making into a shop. And I'm going to switch this around and show that to you. There you go. There's the Quonset hut. And if you notice, I don't know if it shows up on camera very well, but this whole section here was filled with leaves. I raked this pathway down to the Quonset hut. It took me a couple of days actually just to rake it out. You can see along the sides all the piles of leaves. And so now I can actually drive down with a truck if I've got lumber or supplies to come down here. And so it's fairly smooth. I think I'll probably have some crushed rock put down here as a driveway. So this is the next project. I'm going to have to tear down this, whatever it is, contraption that they've built, and I'm going to frame up something to have a garage door installed. So it'll be just basically your normal garage door, probably a little bit taller. I haven't contacted a garage door company yet, but I'd like to get something as tall and as wide as possible that will fit into this opening. Of course, I don't want to go any bigger than this because then I'd have to rip it up, you know, rip it wider and higher. So that's just not an option. So I think, you know, it's about 10 by 9, I think is the opening roughly. So I think that's plenty to have to be able to get things in and out of the shop. So yeah, I'll frame this up and I'll have a garage door installed. And then I'm going to be power washing and painting the entire outside. So I started to go all the way around the building, started to like clean off everything. Again, I'm going to power wash this and then use a good Rust-Oleum paint to paint the outside. And so I've been doing that today. And just to give you a little context, down here is what it did look like a few hours ago. And you know, it takes a lot of work to rake all this stuff out of here. So it goes from that to that. And I'd like to get maybe about 4 or 5 feet of stone around the entire building when I'm done, just to keep it clear. And I think I'm probably going to have to cut down some of the trees, not the trees themselves, but some of these branches that hang over top of it. Although it is nice to have a little bit of shade on the building. So yeah, this is the next project. And then I can move my belongings from storage into here. I don't think you're going to be able to see too much in here, but yeah, it's pretty good size. I think it's 30 by 40 and should make a pretty good workshop. It's in pretty good shape. I was surprised. They told me it had a leak, but as far as I can tell, I see no leak. I think somebody was trying to put some sort of sealant on the concrete inside and it looked like it made the concrete wet, but it wasn't really wet. It was just this darkening of the concrete because of the sealant that they had put on there. So yep, this is the next project, and along with some other things. And I'm going to get back to work here and I'll keep you up to date as soon as possible. So I wanted to do just a quick update on the Quonset hut. I've been out here raking leaves for a few hours and it's going pretty well. I had to go out this morning. I didn't get back till about 1:30, but then I started raking leaves and I finished this front side here. I'm going to switch you over. So I finished this front side here. from yesterday, and then I started going around the backside, and it went pretty quickly. I was surprised. It was really stuffed with leaves and stuff. So I've got this whole backside mostly cleared out. It looks like there's some divots in the ground that I'm gonna have to fill in, like right here. So you can't really see it, but it's a big hole there and a big hole there. But tomorrow is going to be a big challenge because the backside is a little bit more difficult. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to work my way through that. Hopefully I can get it done in a day or so. But yeah, there's a lot of vines that just make raking a nightmare, and hopefully there's no poison ivy. I haven't seen any so far, so I think I'm safe. Now I did go a little bit in from the other side. I'll take you around to see that. Starting back towards me. So let me walk over there, and you can see another little issue that I'm going to have. Oh, and as I'm looking at the building itself, where all the leaves were, you can see that all those leaves were just holding moisture and causing corrosion to happen right at the bottom there. But it's really not too bad. I think I'm going to do a rust conversion on it. Then I'll probably do a little bit of Bondo work, because there are some pinholes that I could see from the inside. I could see light coming through after I cleared out the leaves. And then I'll give it a really good paint job with some Rust-Oleum paint, and then I'll finish power washing the whole building and then put a outdoor acrylic paint over everything. And if necessary, then I'll do a little bit of Flex Seal along the bottom if I really feel like it needs something extra. But yeah, I mean, the metal's still pretty good, but it needs to be protected so it doesn't get any worse. Okay, so let's go over to here. I started clearing out this area over here. This was a bit messy earlier today. And then you can see from this side, we got a big wire. It's a big, I guess, roll of fencing wire that I'm gonna have to drag out of here, as well as some pipes and a lot of weeds and vines. So that's for tomorrow. So that ought to be fun. Okay, enough for now. Bye. All right, time for a quick update on today's progress. I need to go out, so I don't know if I'll be back before the sun sets. So I wanted to get some footage of this in the daytime. So, if you recall yesterday, I was looking at clearing out the backside of the Quonset hut, and I'd say it took maybe about 4 hours with a rake and shears, and pretty much done. So I'm going to flip you over here and we'll take a look at how it looks today. So, big difference. I did notice, however, that this side, the rust along the bottom is a bit worse. There's definitely a few holes through the steel, so it's going to take a little bit more renovation to get it all, back to normal and not leaking. So yeah, I'm still waiting on the rust converter, and then once I do the rust converter, I'll clean it off, I'll do some Bondo, then I'll paint it, and again, if I need to, I'll put some Flex Seal on there, and then we'll see where it goes. If that doesn't do it, then I'll have to have some steel fabricated, and I'll have to use some caulk and some rivets and just screw it together or rivet it together to make it strong again. But I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, it's rusted, but not that bad. Fixing the holes really should solve the problem. So, and then tomorrow I plan on disassembling this old door and taking down this monstrosity. I got some tarps I'm going to put up just temporarily until I can frame up the wood frame for the garage door, and then have someone come in and install that. So that's today's update. I'll see you again tomorrow, and hopefully there'll be another good update. Okay. All right. April 24th, another update. Today was kind of brutal. I won't lie. Probably the most demanding physically of the days I've been here so far. I disassembled the big sliding barn door for the Quonset hut, and basically it fought me every step of the way. All the nails that were holding the aluminum to the frame, their heads were popping off, so I had to use the pry bar and the hammer to basically get half of them off. The other half did come out, but it was a nightmare. So if I switch you around here, you'll see what's left of the door, the big sliding door. This is just the aluminum pieces. It's just aluminum. You can see it's just sheet aluminum. I'll keep it. Could be good for some patchwork or something else, but yeah, definitely it's still good aluminum. And the frame is now in this pile of wood here. Plus, this pile of wood contains what was that monstrosity that they had created on the left side of this opening here. And I got to tell you, I suspected that when I disassembled that, it was going to get ugly and creepy, and I was not wrong. I'll tell you, I've seen some nasty stuff in my day as a carpenter and just working outside. But man, I think I might need therapy after this one. It was just awful. If you want to imagine like Harry Potter with Harry and Ron in the woods with all the spiders coming out, it was just absolutely horrible. So yeah, that was pretty nasty. And I still have this piece here, these two pieces of plywood to disassemble. They were part of the door that was set up there, and honestly I was so exhausted after taking it all down that I thought I'd leave this till tomorrow to disassemble. So that was today, and a couple things came, like I got my scaffolding. It came. I'll assemble that tomorrow morning. And I brought the ladder down because I needed it to get up all around in here. And I'll probably need it to get rid of this trolley system up here that used to carry the door. I no longer need it, so I'm just going to remove it. So that'll probably be tomorrow. And I'm still waiting for the rust converter. And I'm going to order a power washer probably tonight or tomorrow, so that after I do the rust conversion and a primer on the sides, I can start to power wash the whole building inside and out, and then order the paint to paint the whole building. So I think I'm going to go with, looked at a couple different colors, some light greens and a tan. I think I'm going to go with the tan. I don't know why. It's not my usual choice, but tan just seems right. So that's the update for today, and I'll update you again tomorrow, see what I can get accomplished. I'm out. Well, I think I better do today's update, or I'm a little too tired to walk. Yeah, yesterday was a pretty strenuous day. I woke up this morning, my entire body hurt, but it was good. I just laughed, and after about an hour or so, I was feeling fine again. But whew, it's been a tough transition. But anyway, today, done a number of things. I was able to get that door abomination thing disassembled and removed all the nails and things like that, so it's safe to have stored around. Let me flip you over here. Yeah, there's the 2 pieces of plywood that used to make up that nasty door that they had assembled. And again, there's the pile of stuff that I had to break down. I've been digging around the base of the concrete slab. I'm trying to get at least about 2.5 inches of concrete to show, just so I can see it all the way around. So I've started digging out a little bit here, got some more to go there. And then over here on this side, I don't know what the heck it is. It seemed like this whole thing had filled in with some sort of spongy biomass, and I don't know. Here's some of it I threw into the woods. It's not even dirt. It's just like spongy root stuff. And so you can see there's more to dig along here. And eventually I think I'm probably going to have to backfill it with some dirt, some real dirt, because this is not dirt. It's just stuff. It's like roots. It's like spongy root mass. Anyway, that's the only way I can describe it. So yeah, that's got to come out. And then I started to clean actually inside the Quonset hut. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to turn some lights on. I actually got a few little LED lights at Harbor Freight. Amazingly, these are only 85 watts a piece. So you can see all I did was sweep and do sort of a cursory vacuum of all this wall. I still have up the top to do. There's like a bird's nest up there and another bird's nest up here. But after it's all cleared out, I will actually power wash everything in here just to get it really clean. And so I started moving some other stuff in here. I got a fan just to keep the dust moving out while I'm, sweeping. And then I did the same thing over here. I did all along this wall. I just swept each little nook out, got rid of any kind of dirt. Again, it'll be power washed. But then I did the same thing on this wall. Just gave it a good once over with the broom and the vacuum. And then tomorrow I'll do a little bit more of that. And I want to get up here and remove this track here tomorrow, because that's no longer useful. So that'll be another job tomorrow, plus digging out some of this stuff here. And I also created this seems to be the path that I just walk from the house down to the Quonset hut, so I raked out this just to give a nice clear path to get down here when I come from the house. And that's about it. My Bondo came today, but I'm still waiting on the rust converter. But other than that, that's today's update, and it's Friday, so I'll be doing some work tomorrow, but getting there. Oh, and I'll probably put up the tarps that I bought to go over this front section just temporarily till the garage door gets installed. So that'll just close it off, keep any vermin out, insects, things like that. So, oh, and I did notice way in the back here, it looks like some of these 2x4s have sort of rotted a bit. So I'm going to have to probably replace some of them. Like I know this one here, which is pretty nasty. Now, anyway, not too bad. Overall, it's in good shape. Needs a little work, but it's getting there. Okay, I'm out. Well, I thought I'd do my daily update before we get a storm here. And by the way, the previous video had this shaking, rattling sound on it. Well, that was the cheapo selfie stick that I was using. So today, and until I get a better one, I'm just going to hold it, and I think that'll solve the problem for now. But, so what has been happening here? I started digging out a little bit more of the foundation. Switch her around so you can see that at least 2.5 inches are exposed. This area, they must have just dumped the extra concrete when they poured the slab, because I mean, these are the giant chunks that I was pulling out. I mean, they got this guy here and all these, and then way over there, just big hunks of concrete that were buried in the dirt here. So I got them out of there. I'm gonna have to level this and you know, just make it look a little bit more presentable. Also, if we back up here, you can see that the last remnants of the old garage door, sliding barn door thing is now gone. That was kind of nasty. There it is. I got some of the old trolleys sitting on the ground there. And of course, at the top they had this piece of aluminum and a 2x4 that had been cut on an angle to shed the rain off and cover the door. But of course there was a giant spider underneath there, as per usual. And when I hit him with my hammer to kill him, his guts squirted on my face and nearly missed my mouth by about 1/2 inch. So that was really gross. You know, I'm not going to say I'm a tough guy, but that kind of like really sickened me. Anyway, that's just a little aside here. And then on the inside, I've got about half of the inside hosed down with water and then broomed out. Tomorrow I'll do the other side. Yeah, I mean, it was just filthy in there. I had swept out with a dry broom, but you know, with water you just get so much more out. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna turn the lights on. I got a fan here just blowing. I was surprised it only took about 3 or 4 hours to pretty much dry up everything. You can still see there's a little bit of wet spots there. But I got all this side basically just hosed out, and it needs to get hosed again, and then eventually it also needs to get power washed. So this is just a preliminary cleaning. so I can say it's semi-clean. And then tomorrow I will move over, I'll move all the tools over to this side and I'll do the other side. Again, I have broomed it out, I've swept it dry, so it's, I don't know, broom clean, if you will, dry broom clean. But tomorrow I'll do the hose and get it a little bit better than it is now. And then there's still a couple of things like this back wall. There's an old bird's nest there and there. I think I showed that before. So that's got to come out of there. And I'll also continue maybe moving around the foundation and exposing a little bit more of the concrete. So that's pretty much the update for today. And hopefully I'll get the tarps installed on this front face here, just to make it closed off a little bit more. But and the rust converter came. So I did a little experiment with a wire brush over here on one of these small nooks. Forget which one it was. Yeah, it was this one here. So I took a wire brush to it, and you know, it's okay. I think that's all it really needs. It needs a wire brushing, and then I'll put the rust converter on. Now there's some on the other side that are pretty bad. It kind of looks like Swiss cheese, but the Bondo will take care of that. And like I said, if I really need extra strength, I can get some pieces fabricated and we'll just put it on there and rivet it together. But for now, we'll do the rust converter and the Bondo, and then a good Rust-Oleum paint, and then I'll power wash the whole building and paint it, and then we'll see where we stand at that point. Okay, that's the update for today. I'm out. Okay, update time, Monday, April 28th. Yesterday was Sunday. I didn't do much. I had to go into town, get some supplies to work on stuff for today, and I just kind of screwed around with little things in the house and did some software work. So not too much happened with the Quonset hut. But today I decided to wash the other side, and I'll take you inside and show you what it looks like. So go inside, let me turn a light on. Find a light. Okay, so this side of the Quonset hut, I literally hosed it down and broomed it out 6 times before the water going out the end was reasonably clear. So I'm probably going to have to do this other side again another couple of times to get it equally clean. And of course, it's still going to get power washed before I'm done. And I'm noticing that on the floor, some of the old paint that has been putting down, I tried scraping it up and it's coming up like, yeah, there's some scrapings. So it's coming up pretty easy. I'm going to get a scraper and go over the whole floor before I decide to repaint it. Now, the end walls, if you notice, no more bird's nest there, no more bird's nest over there. Everything's been washed down. And of course, those 2 jewels came with their own giant spiders. But instead this time, instead of smashing them with a hammer, I just sucked them up with the shop vac. And that was the end of that. And I also removed some hangers that they had up here. So everything's all clean on this wall. And over here on the other end, there was another nest up in here which has been cleaned out, which was strangely a mouse. So he scurried down the wall and I shushed him out the door, and hopefully he won't come back. And then up here, there used to be this ancient giant light thing. Looks like it belonged in a lighthouse. I'll show it to you. I took it up to the house. But it is now removed, and everything on this wall has been taken off. Any hangers that they had put up there are all gone. So tomorrow I will be back to washing out the other side. I swear I sweated through 2 shirts just pushing a broom for about 4 hours. So I get to do that all again tomorrow. And then hopefully after that I can get on to fixing the outside with the rust converter and the Bondo. So that's pretty much the update for today. And let me just walk you up. I'll show you this giant light that I pulled out of there. Ancient piece of technology. I looked at it, it's got almost nothing written on it, but there's a little sticker that says it's 4.4 amps and 400 watts. And it was made in Mexico in 2002. So there it is. Like I said, look at the size of that bulb. It looks like it belongs in a lighthouse. I did plug it in and it did seem to start to light up. I think it's one of those things that needs to take about 5 to 10 minutes to really get up to full luminosity. But yeah, it's a beast. It weighs about 40 pounds. And you would think that, you know, you build something like this, you'd want to say, hey, it's puts out a gazillion lumens at this many amps and draws this much power. But the only writing that tells you any specifications on it is this little sticker here. So you can barely read it. But anyway, so that's going out. And that's the update for today. So I'm out. Talk to you tomorrow. Okay, update for Tuesday, April 29th. And got a lot done, but it was kind of a boring day. So inside Quonset hut, I got the southern side. Well, if you face the opening, let me switch you around. To my left is south and to my right is north. So today I cleaned inside, cleaning meaning hosed out and broomed the southern side 3 more times. So 3 additional times seems to have gotten me to the same level of clean as the northern side that I did 6 times yesterday. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I can officially say that everything has been cleaned sufficiently, even though I will do one last cleaning with a power washer to complete the cleaning of the inside of the Quonset hut. And also, I'm probably going to need a power washer to hopefully get rid of some of the old paint on the floor that's coming up. I don't have lights on right now because I pulled the plug up at the house. So hopefully you can see what's going on in here. And then on the outside, I did go all along the northern face of the building, and I removed all of the rust with a chisel and a wire brush. I came up with sort of a methodology to use a chisel to scrape off all the little crusty bits that form when something starts to rust. I mean, normally if it was a solid piece of metal, you could use something like a needle scaler, but since I'm just working on sheet metal here, I couldn't really use that. I probably would punch right through it. So I used a chisel to sort of scrape off any bits that were just kind of crusty on top, and then I used a wire brush to get rid of all the rest of it, and then I applied the rust converter to everything all along the northern side. I'll have to do the southern side tomorrow. But one thing I noticed, it was kind of interesting, is that you can see that the rusted area turns black after coating it with the rust converter. But down here, notice that, let me see if I can find a good example. You know, it's kind of changed a little bit on me here, but maybe here you can see that the bottom is really black, but as I was going along, I was starting to get a little bit more liberal with the rust converter. I was just using a brush, and I started putting it a little higher, and you can see that there's sort of bands that are getting black above the first two. And I think what's happening is that the zinc coating on the metal is actually starting to, I guess, corrode away, and it's revealing some bare steel. So you can see that even that bare steel, even though it wasn't really rusty, it's starting to turn black itself. So tomorrow I'll probably wash this down, let it dry, and then do some Bondo on it and see how that turns out. And I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do like a full coating of Bondo or just try to cover the holes. I'll probably, now that I'm looking at it, I'll probably do like that first row, like right about here. I'll do this down to the cement and then fill in this, because that's where all the holes are, and then see where that gets me, because I can see from the inside if there's light coming through. So, you know, well, I'll judge it after that. I'm not sure I want to fill it completely in. I have 1 gallon of this stuff, so I don't know if if I start filling more of it in, I might need to get another gallon of it. Like even here, you can see, I don't know if you can see that, there's a hole right there. So I'll have to do like down along here and maybe down along here with Bondo as well. So I'll just work out a system, see how it goes, and yeah, I'll let you know on the next update how that's working out. But other than that, it's really hard on the knees because you got to go up and down and up and down to, scrub it. Or first of all, rub off all the old rust bits, then scrub it with a wire brush, then clean it, and then go all the way along with the rust converter. So with a lot of up and down. Anyway, that's the update for today, and that's it. I'm out. So this is a update on April 30th, midday, and I just wanted to cover what I had used for the rust converter. I bought this stuff on Amazon. It was not that expensive, maybe about 18 bucks. Looks like it's, how much is it? 1 gallon. And I just wanted to caution anybody that uses this stuff to use, at the very least, eye protection, because when I first started putting on the rust converter, I was being very careful just to put the solution on the rusted areas. But by the time I got to the other end, well, I was just sort of slathering it on, and I was using, a brush like this. And, if you're dipping the brush into the can of paint, it has a tendency to spray. And a couple of times it sprayed tiny little droplets, and some of them got on my arm and some of them got on my face. But fortunately, I had a pair of safety glasses on. And boy, you can't avoid splashing it a little bit. So at the very minimum, you should have safety glasses. I bought these at Harbor Freight for like $2.50. And I also was using some cheap rubber gloves that I bought at the Dollar General. They work pretty good. They're reusable. And these brushes, again, at Harbor Freight, $1. So yeah, it makes sense to be careful. And what I did was I took some of this and I poured it into this empty paint can that I had when I was building the Starlink tower. And I was able to use that to carry around to the different places and put the rust converter on. So let me take you outside. I'm going to show you what it did overnight. I came out this morning and I basically hosed off all the areas that I had put the rust converter on. And you can see that, well, let me go down here where it's shady. It definitely did something. So this is what it looks like afterwards. It actually looked a little different this morning before I hosed it off. And I'm thinking I wanted to hose it off because I don't want that chemical on there when I'm trying to Bondo over some of these holes. It might not give me a good seal or a good adhesion to the metal if that chemical is still on there. So yeah, I came down here and I hosed it off really well. And today I'm going to try and put some Bondo on there. I'm probably going to do just a couple of them and see how it works. I don't want to do them all and then find out it's not working very well. So I'll do a couple of test sites and see how it's working and then decide if I want to continue or not. But yeah, that's what it did, and it cleaned the concrete a little bit. If nothing else, you can use it as a concrete cleaner. But yeah, since I washed it off, it's gotten this like whitish tint to it, where this morning it was more like almost like a shiny metal. But yeah, after washing it off and letting it almost dry, it's not quite dry, it's gotten like a whitish haze over it. So that's the result. Anyway, it's only midday, so I'll come back with another update later today. I also started digging out along this northern side. There was a whole bunch of roots and stuff here. You can see all this stuff here. It's like that spongy biomass. I can only think of, it's like the same stuff Swamp Thing is made out of. It's really weird. But yeah, I was able to dig most of it out. Now I've got to level it off. And you can see some big roots that had started growing along the side of the concrete here. And there was a huge one. Let me see. Yeah, it's this one here. That guy, look how long it is. It had grown all the way to about, I don't know, 3/4 of the way down on the concrete. From about there all the way to about here. And so I had to dig that out. Plus there was some old rebar in there. And yeah, who knows what I'm going to find next. Anyway, that's the midday update on April 30th, and I'll be back later. All right. Update number 2 for April 30th, 2025. Well, since I got here 3 weeks and 1 day ago, it hasn't rained at all. I think it rained one night about the third day I was here. Ever since then, it's been completely dry. Well, today it rained most of the afternoon. Not a super heavy rain, but it was enough to put the kibosh on doing any kind of Bondo work to the Quonset hut. However, I did other stuff, like, for example, I think I showed you all this, zoom out a bit here, all this around here along this edge. I was digging up all kinds of stuff. I don't even know what this is. It's super heavy. It's a giant piece of steel. It was buried under the ground. Again, I dug up some of these rods, these metal rods, and what else? Yeah, so I've been just going all around trying to expose this concrete. You can see all kinds of roots through there. It's a nightmare. This is going to take me a while. This is not going to happen in just a couple of days. So I'm going to do a little bit at a time. And then I did more grading work over here on the front. That's looking a little better. And then over here, also did some more grading work. So this is starting to look a little better too. Still got some more work to do over here. I want the water to run that way and also a little bit this way. But I'll tell you what, I've been just digging up all kinds of crap. I mean, this is just what I pulled out of the dirt today. There's shotgun shells and rifle bullet casings and car parts and rusted old bolts. I mean, it's kind of disgusting how they just left everything laying around here. And I've already pulled out about 8 bags of this stuff and got it out of here. This is probably going to be another bag. So, and I got one up by the trailer and need to take that out of here too. So that's about 10 bags of just absolute trash that's been buried in the dirt. So anyway, no work on the Quonset hut itself, just digging. And but hopefully if it's clear tomorrow, I'll start with the Bondo, see how that works out. Okay, I'm out. All right, May 1st update. Well, I had to wait till about noon today in order to let things dry out. It was a little bit rainy yesterday. Not a lot of rain, but the ground was wet, and I really wanted everything to be dry and warm so that the Bondo would adhere to the metal, as best as possible. In the meantime, I decided to clear out this area around the propane tank. Just rake the leaves around it. I'm sure at some point in the not too distant future, I'll probably have to deal with something with regard to the propane tank. I mean, right now it's working fine, but you never know. I mean, it's a mechanical device, so I thought I'd clear it out while I was waiting. So I got that done. And then down here, it's interesting. I did start to do the Bondo work. I got the first 5 done. Well, not done. First coat. I started out, just trying to apply some over the holes and realized pretty quickly that this is not something that you can just put in a tiny little spot. It's an all or nothing deal. I mean, you just got to slather it on there and smooth it out. So this was my first attempt right here. Looks pretty good. Actually, this is 2 passes. Like I said, the first time I tried it, I just put a little bit on there, and then I realized, you know what, you got to really just go for it. So this needs at least one more pass, and then I'll sand it and see what it looks like at that point. So I got that one done. These are all just one pass, one pass, one pass, one pass. And then what was interesting is that on here I cleaned it off. I brushed it, and you can see that the metal looks a little bit, a little bit more shiny, a little bit more metallic looking. But if you come down here, you'll see these have not been brushed off. And even though I had rinsed it off with the hose numerous times, trying to get all the old chemical off, you can see that it leaves like a white haze coating on it that will come off with just a brush. So I've been just brushing it off till it looks kind of like this, and then I figure that's going to be enough for the Bondo to adhere to. And then I don't know if it really comes across on camera, but I've been trying to grade this area a little bit better as I go down this side and put the Bondo on. I've been digging up some roots. In fact, I dug this giant root out today. Look at this thing. Holy crap. This thing went from here. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Yeah, from here all the way, like more than halfway down the Quonset hut along the concrete. So that was like a giant root in there. And of course I'll have to do the same along this back side here. And then also, while I was waiting this morning for things to dry out, I've been doing a little bit more grading on this side. I'm almost done on this front area. So yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. I dug out another 2 giant bags of just litter and rusted old bolts and spark plugs and oil filters and you name it. And I filled like another 2 bags to be taken to the dump. But it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I understand if you're working out and you lose a bolt or two and you can't find it, that's one thing. But I'll tell you, I've pulled out about 12 to 13 bags of old rusted parts, pumps, filters, outlets, door handles, you name it. I mean, I found it all just in the dirt. But hopefully I've gotten most of it. And I decided to put this plywood on the ground here because this front area here tends to hold moisture. So if I come down from the house, I stay in the dry sand, I can walk into here and then walk into the Quonset hut without really dragging a lot of sand into the Quonset hut and constantly having to broom it out. And then of course over here, this was interesting today. I don't know if he's there today, but along this back here, I'm going to have to, grade this as well. But there was a very large snake out here, just sitting there, and I know where he lives. If you can see underneath that little piece of metal there, that's where he lives. Because when I went to get my camera to take a picture of him, he was sliding back under there. So I almost tripped on him. He was just laying on the ground right about here and not moving. And I went to get the camera to take a picture, or my phone to take a picture. And when I came back, the tail was sticking out right about here and it was just going in there. So at some point I'm going to have to take his home and make him move someplace else. But yeah, this whole other side, this is This is worse than the north side. You can see, I'll give you a little indication how bad it is. I don't know if you can see that. There's some holes there about the size of a pencil. So, and that one too. So I got to go along here and remove all the crusty rust before I do the rust conversion. And then I can start on that side. But I'm going to focus mostly on the north side first and get that done, and then move over to the southern side. So that's pretty much it for today. What I'm doing is I'm kind of alternating between doing some of the Bondo work and doing some of the grading work, because even though I'm outside, the fumes from that Bondo is really strong. So I can do maybe one or two of them, and then I got to take a break. Even with a mask on, it's really strong. So yeah, I'm just alternating between doing Bondo and then doing some shoveling work. And yeah, I cut up a bunch of cardboard squares that I'm using to put the Bondo on, to mix it up, and then to take it out. So this is my Bondo station here, and boy, don't ever forget to clean off your spatula after you use it to put some Bondo on, because I left a little bit on there before going up for lunch, and man, I spent about 40 minutes trying to break it off there. That stuff really sticks to metal. I used a chisel. I used this chisel to get it off there. I had to use a hammer and the chisel to get it all off there. So yeah, it really sticks. I hope it sticks as well to the Quonset hut. But that's about it. I'll continue on and give you an update tomorrow. I'm out. Okay, update for May 2nd. Well, I've got the whole north side of the Quonset hut Bondoed for the first coat. Probably have to do a second coat. I actually used up the whole can on just the northern side. So I've ordered another can, but I'll start on the southern side with the second can because I want to get that sealed up. So let me just take you down here, flip this over. Okay, so I think we had seen some Bondo yesterday, the first 4, and then now today I've gone all the way down to the end and put a coat of Bondo everywhere. So inside, when I'm inside and the light's shining from the north, I don't see any pinholes. So that's a good thing. And I've also done a little bit more grading work along the north face here. It's looking a lot better. And then I also, well, it was like gorillas in the mist here this morning. It was really foggy, and I had to wait till about 12:30 before any sunshine came out and I could really do any Bondo work. So in the meantime, I was working on grading there, and then I started to dig this up, just pulling out some more roots. This side, it dips off down here, but it's almost like it comes up and then dips down right at the building. So I'm trying to level this off here and just make like a smooth transition down into the woods there. And then I've also started on the other side. Let's see if I can take you around real quick. Just started to work my way around on this side here with a little bit more grading work, and then as I move down towards the end, I'll start to scrape off the rust from this side, from the north side, and then do the rust treatment on this side. So that's about all that got done today. That's enough, believe me. So hopefully you'll see some more work done on this side tomorrow. And for now, I'm out.